Hello and welcome to this holiday reading vlog. I am taking a well overdue week off work this week and spending it in Dorset in the south of England, staying in a lovely little cottage and hopefully spending lots of time relaxing in the beautiful nature, lots of walks and coastal scenery, and hopefully getting a lot of reading done too. My TBR for the week consists mainly of high fantasy books, as I find I have a lot more energy for reading while I'm on holidays compared to a normal work week, so I like to fit in all of my most mentally taxing books on these weeks. And this week in particular I have The Dragon Reborn to read. I started this the other day but I've only got through about 100 pages of that so far. I then also want to read the first volume and hopefully a good chunk of the second of Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. To break things up a little bit, I probably will squeeze in an audiobook or two as well. In particular, the one I want to get to is the second Shauna Maguire book, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, after absolutely loving Every Heart a Doorway, which I read last night, and giving it 5 stars. It was incredible, but you can hear my thoughts on that in my previous vlog. This vlog will be a little bit longer than my usual ones, spanning from today, which is Saturday, until following Sunday, so just over the usual week, to enable me to have all of my holiday footage in one video for you. So I hope you enjoy seeing a little glimpse of my trip away in Dorset, as well as my thoughts on the high fantasy books that I'm reading this week. I'm sure this holiday will absolutely fly by, so I'm going to take advantage of every little minute that I have, and I'm heading out into the garden at the moment to enjoy some evening sunshine, a bit more of The Dragon Reborn, and probably a nice drink as well. So I will chat to you again a little bit later on. Hello, you join me from a very windy cliff top at a beautiful beauty spot called Old Harry Rocks in Dorset, near where I'm staying on holiday. We're having the most gorgeous country walk all along the cliff top and it's absolutely stunning. However, I do have a quick reading update as well. So on this walk I have been listening to the audiobook of 7 Endless Forests by April Genevieve de Kolk, and I am really enjoying so far. So this book is heavily mythology inspired, with both the Arthurian legends and a continuation of April Genevieve de Kolk's first book, which was a Beowulf retelling using the Norse inspired gods and cultural background. And I really love her way of writing. It's very lyrical. It's really quite busy here, very touristy spot, and vlogging in public is still something I'm a little bit nervous about, or awkward to say the least. So, yeah, as I was saying, this beautiful book is called 7 Endless Forests, and it follows 2 sisters at the start of the book who have lost their family to snow sickness and are trying to outrun a band of mercenary priest warriors called the Wolf Priests. Also trying to figure out how to help this stranger who arrives at their doorstep called Gyda, who is in search of a magical sword, which is where the Arthurian influence comes in, I imagine. I'm really intrigued by this book. It is actually somewhat of a continuation from the previous book, The Boneless Mercies. There are a few references in the very opening pages of the book to this one, and I was a big fan of the first one, so I'm looking forward to continuing the series. quick update from the beach. It is a beautiful sunny afternoon and I am lying out sunbathing and finishing The Dragon Reborn, hopefully. I have about 100 pages left. Really enjoying this, and I look forward to catching up with my thoughts on this book once I am completed. I have broken off from listening to Seven Endless Forests at the moment, as I can actually read a physical book, but will definitely chip away at a little bit more of that one while I'm on my walks for the rest of the week. Very much enjoying everything I'm reading at the moment. This is set to be a very good reading week, as I hoped it would be. Lots of fantasy stories, lots of time for reading in the sunshine, and it's just a beautiful holiday all round so far. I'm really enjoying myself. So if I just fill you in a little bit on The Dragon Reborn, it is at the moment very much a filler book for me. It's a series that I'm very comfortable with now. It's going quite quickly compared to the speed that I read the other books, because I'm familiar with the characters, with the magic system, the world building, a lot of the places as well, so it's a lot easier to race through a little bit quicker. Not a huge amount has happened in terms of action either at the moment. You can tell that it's the lull before things kick off again a little bit. There's a lot of plot lines just following through from the previous book, building up a little bit in terms of the political intrigue and what we're waiting for with the magic, but nothing has actually happened massively in the way of an event just yet. We've only met one or two minor new characters as well, so it's a stepping stone book rather than hugely plot driven, but I am really enjoying it anyway, and hopefully the ending will have a little bit more action to make it all worth it. But I'm very much looking forward to carrying on with the series, probably next month. I wish I could pick up the next book sooner, but I have such a full TBR for June that is not going to happen. So let's get it finished today, and I'll speak to you again later. Hello, it is Tuesday morning and I'm joining you with another reading update before my day out by the sea again. I was watching some sprints last night on Christy from Christy Reads channel. If you haven't checked her out yet, by the way, she's a fairly new YouTuber like myself, but is doing really well so far and has great videos and a brilliant personality. So please go and give Christy a like. Tell her you came from me. But yes, Christy had sprints last night, which I had a little look at and was able to start reading The Way of Kings as well, which I was really excited to get started with and is definitely living up to expectations so far. I am only about 3 chapters in, but even so, I can already tell this fits an awful lot of the beats of a proper high fantasy, which I particularly enjoy. So Stormlight is another branch of Brandon Sanderson's wider Cosmere series. This follows my reading of Elantris, Mistborn trilogy, Second Era Mistborn, Warbreaker, and now I'm on to this. That's the order I've personally chosen to read them in. I know there's a lot of controversy of which way you should read these books, but this series in particular is one I've been especially excited to get to. I don't know why, from what I've heard about it, I feel like it's going to really appeal to me, the way it's written and the world, which apparently is very turbulent and is ravaged by these regular storms. There's a very complex magic system, isn't there always with Sanderson, and lots of different cultures and races of people as well, which I'm really excited to get into. So Way of Kings will be my challenge for the next few days. My particular editions are split into 2 volumes, so this is book 1, which is about 550 pages, and then book 2 is around the same length. So hopefully can get both of those finished this week, but definitely book 1 needs to be done within the next couple of days. So hopefully lots of reading while I'm out and about again. I will keep updating you as I go. Hopefully can fill you in on my thoughts with this book and enjoy some more coastal scenery today. Absolutely surrounded by wildflowers on this gorgeous coastal path. It's just the most beautiful place. And the sun is shining and the sky is blue. I love being on holiday so much. Time for a quick update. I'm just back from another lovely coastal walk, this time to a beautiful place called Dancing Ledge, which is just along the coast from where we're staying. It is, as the name would suggest, a rocky ledge leading down from the sea cliffs to the beach, or sea level, But the most important feature of it, and the most exciting part for us, was that there is essentially a large rock pool, but it's in the shape of a natural cut swimming pool, which you can go and swim in seawater, but a little bit warmer and a little bit less turbulent than being in the actual sea, which was perfect for me. Apparently, I found out as well, fascinating little fact, that the local boarding school used to use it to give their children swimming lessons, which is marvellous. You have to climb down a rocky bit of cliff to get there, but it's well worth the scramble. And absolutely beautiful sunshine today. So we had a lovely little swim, which I'm sure you're seeing footage of right now, and a beautiful walk in the sunshine along the coast to and from to get there. Whilst on the walk, I've been listening to some more of the audiobook of Seven Endless Forests, which I have thoughts on. I'm enjoying it so far. Let me start with that. It very much follows with the same pattern of story as The Boneless Mercies, the same type of character, the same references to their own folklore and descriptions of the landscape and things. The lyrical descriptive language very much lends itself to an audiobook, so I'm enjoying listening to it in that format. But it's nothing exciting, nothing groundbreaking, because it's very much a copy of the format of the previous book. Not a problem, as I enjoyed the previous book, but as I say, nothing particularly new to discover. I'm also a little confused because this book's supposed to be based on Arthurian legends. It's meant to be a retelling, but there's been very little mention of the Arthurian legends at all. Some of the names have been referenced, a couple of character names and a place name are clearly based on the story. And as I said before, that there's the mention of this quest to find a magical sword, which is obviously the Excalibur parallel, but apart from that, very little of the story has been referenced at all, and even the search for the sword is a secondary plotline to the kind of revenge story and the quest to recover a lost friend. So there's a lot of scope to discover a little bit more about this story. I am only about a third of the way through, so hopefully that part of the plot will develop, but it's not quite what I was expecting just yet. Very much enjoying it, but a little unexpected. So I look forward to seeing what happens, and I will keep you updated. Hello, so it's a little bit later and I've come out on an evening walk just down to the cliff top near where we're staying, just so I can sit out in peace and quiet and read my book for a little bit. I'm making good progress with The Way of Kings, which I have right here. I've just got past about the 200 page mark, I think about 215 pages, so it's a good time to give you an update with my thoughts. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really intrigued by this book. I feel like I can't give a proper assessment of the plot just yet because we've got so many different storylines going on, so many different characters that we've met, that I'm not quite sure how it's all going to interlink, but I'm sure when all of the characters' storylines do intersect, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. So the very start of the book was actually quite frustrating for me. It was one of the writing tropes which I really dislike, in that you have lots of false starts. So we have a prologue, and before that we have a prelude, however you call it. So you end up meeting about 3 different characters in 3 different timelines, which is very confusing because once you get to the actual plot, none of them are referenced at all, and it gets very complicated. But anyway, that aside, I've really taken to the characters that we've met so far. So Kaladin I absolutely love. I think I'm going to really enjoy reading about his character. He's got such depth to him, and his storyline is so gritty and tormented, and I just love that kind of thing in a fantasy book. And he is inhabiting this very gritty, dark war camp scenario, whereas the other main character who we meet at the start, Shala, is a more of the high society and academia type vibe, and in a city setting rather than out in the battlefield. So it's a very good contrast to start off the book. We then had, at the end of part 1, a couple of interludes of very different characters again, which give you just a little flavour of other parts of Roshar, the continent that this fantasy world is set on, other cultures of people that we might get to meet later on. Their storylines don't seem to intersect particularly, although one of them does, but not exactly. And then in the start of part 2, we have met another couple of main characters who I assume are going to be main characters, certainly POV chapters, who are the royal family of the king who is assassinated in one of the prologue sections. So things are starting to come together, and I'm really enjoying the way it's written. I can tell that this is one of those very high fantasy worlds where the magic and the culture and the languages have all really thought out and very well researched and planned, which I absolutely love. Sanderson is always tremendous, and how he can think up so many different versions of a fantasy world and write many books within them is just beyond me. I don't know how he does it. I am completely in awe of some of these authors. So Way of Kings going well. As I said, I'll probably not finish this one tonight. I've got over 300 pages left, probably nearer 400, but hopefully tomorrow we can get this one finished and move on to part 2. I will continue with my audiobook as well of Seven Endless Forests, which I'm about halfway through now. My thoughts are very much the same as my update earlier, so I probably won't have anything else to say until I've finished that book. Only 2 days left of my holiday now. I'm really sad. It's going very, very quickly and I absolutely don't want to go back to work. But hopefully we'll have a couple more beautiful days, lots more scenery, lots more reading, and make the most of the end of this week. I will chat to you again very soon, but for now it's gone a little bit chilly out here and we've definitely lost the sun, so I'm going to head back to the cottage, make some tea, and get cosy and carry on reading a little bit more of The Way of Kings. See you tomorrow! Hello, so you joined me on another evening walk, this time in very different weather from my previous one. We've had a very, very misty day today. Apparently this part of the coast that I'm visiting in Dorset is very prone to these thick, heavy fogs rolling in off the sea in spring and early summer, which we're in right now, and today has definitely been that. No more of the lovely sunshine, although I think my sunburn and suntan is very much grateful for that one little day off. I've had a lovely day though exploring a beautiful walk around some castle ruins called Corfe Castle, which is the most beautiful place. I had been here before but have really, really enjoyed a revisit. I always find ruins really atmospheric, especially when I'm reading fantasy books. It gives me a little entryway into that world and that type of society and lets my imagination run wild, which I've really, really enjoyed. I've also been reading a little bit more of The Way of Kings, though I'm shortly heading back indoors to cosy up once again with some tea and a blanket because it is really quite chilly out here and quite damp too. So very short update for today, but hopefully tomorrow our last day will be another lovely sunny one and I'll be able to show you one last glimpse of the Dorset coast in the sunshine and hopefully give you a bit more of a reading update tomorrow as well. So I will talk to you again very soon. So I found a little spot to shelter under this tree, which looks to be some sort of wishing tree with all the beautiful ribbons hung in the tree behind me. It's a lovely country park just up the road from where we're staying. So we have lots of little sculptures around here and different poetry written up on plaques and things. I think there's a local education centre which a lot of the, I'm assuming school children or some sort of special education groups, I don't know, are involved with, but they've made a really good effort in this country park area and it's a beautiful thing to see. Lots of natural craftsmanship and little bits of lyricism and lots of references to folklore, and it's a beautiful touch, so I've really enjoyed this and it's definitely a welcome spot to shelter from the rain if nothing else. I think I'm admitting defeat tonight and heading back to the cottage. I've actually ended up reading about 7 chapters of The Way of Kings, which is pretty good going for an evening stroll. I have that here right now. I'm still hoping to get this one finished this evening. I've definitely been slacking a little bit on my reading over the last couple of days. Haven't quite got through as much of this book as I would like to, but this one needs finishing tonight if possible and the next one starting at least tomorrow, so I can still achieve my goal of finishing both Way of Kings books this week, plus a couple more audiobooks as well. I do definitely want to finish Seven Endless Forests and read Down Among the Sticks and Bones as well, probably on my commute home on Saturday. That is the goal for the rest of the week, but for now I'm going to leave this vlog clip here and I will see you again tomorrow, as I said, hopefully with some more Dorset sunshine. And happy Friday. It is the last full day of my holiday, which I'm really sad about. I'm absolutely not ready to go home yet, but I do have the whole day today and probably most of tomorrow as well to fill with holiday plans and to get some more reading done, so all is not lost just yet. Reading wise, things are going very, very well. So last night I was watching some sprints with Ashley, Cody and Jade for the Whateverthon sprint schedule. You can see all that on the Twitter, which I'll link below. I finished Way of Kings Part 1 and I absolutely loved it. This book is so, so good. I really, really enjoyed this. I read most of the second half yesterday and I'm just so intrigued with these characters. Kaladin is still my favourite. I absolutely love his storyline. He's so inspirational and it's such a gritty story and so many mysteries as well about his character. A couple of things that I had actually picked up on from the start, which other characters are now seeing, which I'm really kind of pleased with, and also very intrigued to see where that goes. I also have another new favourite character who we met since I last updated you on this, and that is a character called Wit, or The Wit. I'm not sure if it's a title or a name yet, who really reminds me of the Fool from the Robin Hobb series, which just tugs at my heartstrings. I love the Fool. He's one of my favourite characters ever. And Wit is a similar character in the fact that he's got a very clever tongue. He's got very witty ways, as his name would suggest, of making quips at all of the nobility, but actually you can tell is a very intelligent person under the surface and nobody really knows exactly who he is. So he's only a very minor character at the moment in Dalinar's storyline, but I really, really hope we get to see more of Wit soon. So this morning I've started part 2 and I'm about 100 pages through that at the moment. The plan for the rest of today is to finish as much of this as I can, and then whatever I haven't finished will roll over to tomorrow and maybe Sunday as well if needed. I also probably will try and finish 7 Endless Forests on the walk we do a bit later today. I only have, I think, 2.5 hours of the audiobook left, which, considering I'm listening on nearly 2 speed, I think 1.8 speed, that shouldn't take me too long to get through at all. Really enjoying all of my reading still so far. I'm having a lovely week of fantasy and everything is very different but very, very enjoyable. I do, as I said as well, want to listen to Down Among the Sticks and Bones tomorrow, probably on my commute back. That's about 4 hours, I think, of audiobook, so that should be, again, very achievable within the 2 or 3 hours that it'll take me on a more sped up version. And then I need to start thinking about what else to read. I think next week's reading plans I already have sorted, but I have figured out that by listening to 7 Endless Forests here, that was supposed to be my prompt for Whateverthon for the last letter of the previous book you read being the first letter of the next book you read, because 7 Endless Forests obviously starts with the letter S, and a lot of my books on my TBR finished with the letter S. However, the one that I've started reading it after didn't end with an S, so I may need to pick another book for that prompt or rework things a little bit. It would have fitted as a follow-on from Way of Kings, but I won't have finished Way of Kings before I finish 7 Endless Forests, so maybe I'll tweak that one, or maybe I'll have to think of another book for that prompt. We will see. So a little bit more reading to do this morning, then I'm going to head out on one last lovely coastal walk. It's a little bit cloudy this morning, but hopefully the sunshine will come through later, and I think we're going to one of the most beautiful beauty spots in the area, but you will see very soon whether that's where we end up or not. I will speak to you again later. Also, I started editing some of the footage for this vlog last night, and I realised that I'm just documenting the steady progression of my tan this week, which I'm not mad about. It's really nice to have actually caught the sun rather than being stuck indoors all day in artificial lighting, as I usually am at work, so definitely taking that as a bonus. Goodbye pretty cottage, goodbye Dorset. It's been a beautiful holiday and I'm really, really sad to be leaving, but on to new adventures. This is just the most beautiful garden I have ever been to. It's absolutely stunning. Just look at those views. Hello, it is Sunday afternoon and time for a reading update. I haven't spoken to you since I was on holiday, and since then you will have seen some beautiful footage from yesterday's journey home, where we stopped at a gorgeous National Trust property called Stourhead, which has the most beautiful landscape park I think I've ever seen. It was absolutely stunning. The rhododendrons were all in flower and beautiful colours everywhere. The scenic vistas were just second to none, honestly absolutely gorgeous. And I really loved the sort of ancient Greek literary inspired feel about the place as well, with all of the little temples named after Greek gods and the statues everywhere. And also lots of quotes from ancient works, such as The Odyssey by Homer and Paradise Lost by John Milton, which were printed out on boards and little glass plaques everywhere around the grounds. So it gave a nice little literary twist to the whole experience. It was honestly stunning, and the weather really helped too. Beautiful sunshine once again. So in terms of reading, I listened as I planned to Down Among the Sticks and Bones, the audiobook, on my way home, and really enjoyed what I heard of that. I was really intrigued by this book. Jack and Jill were two of the characters which fascinated me most from the first book, Every Heart a Doorway, and I was not disappointed by the second book. Another 5 stars, another new favourite. I'm really hoping this series doesn't start to disappoint from the third book onwards, because so far they have been absolutely incredible. I think Jack is possibly one of my favourite book characters ever. She's really fascinating as a character, and the whole world of the moors and the dark creepy vibes. It was very gothic, I thought. I got both Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein vibes from this one, which you're probably supposed to, but I was really fascinated by this book and thought it was absolutely incredibly written. I also really liked the representation in this, and the, not so much mental health, but like the, you know, Jack's need for cleanliness, for example, and the way that both children are indoctrinated from a very young age because of the way that their parents treat them, and then the treatment again that Jill gets from the master in this new world and how that shapes her character too, I thought were really interesting and quite hard-hitting issues really to cover in such a short book, but absolutely fascinating, and as I said, another new favourite book. I did also start the third one in the series, Beneath the Sugar Sky, but I'm only about 2 chapters into this one so far, so maybe we'll finish that one this evening, maybe that will roll over into next week, I'm not sure yet at this point. I'm also still cracking on with The Way of Kings. I'm on part 2 and I'm about 200 pages from the end right now. This one definitely I will get finished this afternoon, though not right now because I'm watching the French Open tennis final, which I'm really enjoying so far. We're about half an hour in and it's a really quality match, and being a tennis player myself, I really enjoy watching tennis, so that is my pick over the choice between that and the football, which I know a lot of people are having to make this afternoon. I'm also in and out of the garden too because the sunshine is absolutely gorgeous today, so I'm fitting in the odd chapter here and there of this when I venture outside into the sun. So I will update you again a bit later on this evening when I hopefully will have finished this one, and I will have some more thoughts to let you know about my reading and give you a wrap up for the books I have read over this holiday week. Hello, so it is the end of this reading week and time for a wrap up of all of the books that I've got through this week. I've had a particularly good reading week and I've got through I think 5 full books and 1 half a book so far, so I'm very pleased with my statistics for the week. So starting off the week, I finished off The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. This was a lovely continuation of a series for me, a very comfortable read, a world and characters that I'm very familiar with at this point. Nothing particularly exciting plot-wise until the very conclusion of the book. There wasn't actually very much action at all. But it was a lovely series continuation, as I've said. It filled the gap very well from the last book to the next, and just a nice steady character progression with a lot of the themes that we've seen in the previous few books. So a good solid read for me, 4-star I would say, nothing absolutely groundbreaking but really enjoyable. Sorry, my battery just died, so forgive me if things have moved around a little bit, but continuing with the wrap up, the next books that I read was part 1 and as of tonight I finished part 2 of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is a new fantasy series to me, one which I had been anticipating for a very long time, and I'm pleased to say that I was very impressed with it so far at least. I know there are several more books which I've got to add to the TBR now. I'm really intrigued by all the new characters which we've met, which I've mentioned previously in this vlog, but Kaladin and the Wit are to date my favourite, but all of the characters really have fascinating storylines and I'm really excited to see where this series goes. I'm torn at the moment between a 4 and a 5 star. I think it's probably a high 4, I would say. It doesn't quite make the cut of that 5 star purely because I'm not completely invested in the characters yet. I feel like another book or two might actually push up to that 5 star level, but for now I like everything that I've seen, but I'm not completely into it as much as I would need to be for a 5 star. But a very, very promising series, very much look forward to carrying on, and I'm really glad that I've actually taken the plunge finally and picked up the series. The next book which I read was Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna Maguire, which is the continuation of the Wayward Children series, and as I said earlier in this vlog, I really, really enjoyed this one. This was a 5 star, a continuation of another 5 star in the first book, and following a set of characters which I really was fascinated by in the first book. Very interesting storyline, very interesting premise. I'm quite scared that the rest of the series will not live up to expectations this much. I've just started the third book, which I've read about 100 pages of so far. May finish that one this evening. I think it's actually shy of 200 pages, so I should be able to get through that one tonight, but definitely not enjoying the third as much as I enjoyed the second, so a little bit nervous that the series might have peaked already for me. But as there are, I think it's going to be an 8-book series in the end, but as there are currently 6, I think, published so far, I have lots more potential for these books to get back to impressing me. But Down Among the Sticks and Bones, 5 star, very good book. Beneath the Sugar Sky, not so much just yet, but I'll probably round that one out tomorrow or Tuesday, so you'll see in the next vlog my thoughts on that particular book. The next one we have, which I didn't tell you I'd finished, but I did get around to finishing last night, was 7 Endless Forests by April Genevieve de Kolk. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing that surname wrong, by the way. I'm not quite sure on the correct pronunciation, but I'm just spelling it phonetically. This was a bit of an enigma of a book for me. I think it's come out at a 3 star. I'm really disappointed. I thought I was going to absolutely love this book. I really enjoyed the first one, and a lot of aspects about this one were the same as the first in terms of its enjoyment. Its main strength, I think, is its writing. So it's very lyrical, very descriptive, really beautiful use of mythology, and I very much enjoyed the world which was created with the language that was used and the descriptions, but I just found that the rest of the story didn't quite hit home in the same way that other books I've read this week have done. So there's a couple of points I would make. The characters were fine, they were nice, they were believable, but apart from the main couple of characters, and even them to a degree, you didn't really see below the surface with most of the characters. There wasn't very much depth and development. Because of the way the story was told, it was quite episodic, if you like, so the main characters are travelling a lot throughout the story. They are introduced to new groups of characters who they interact with for a couple of chapters, for an evening, whatever it might be, and then you leave those characters behind and move on to new ones. So you get to know an awful lot of people at surface level, but very little goes beneath the surface, and that is something I object to in a way. I like very character-driven books. I like a lot of development and backstory, and it just was lacking a little bit in this book for me. It did pick up a little bit on the Arthurian content, so I'd mentioned earlier in the week that considering it's supposed to be a retelling of the Arthurian legends, there was very little of that actually mentioned. By the end of the book you do get a lot more characters and places mentioned, and the quest for the sword, but again I would say it's not really a retelling but more just inspired by the folklore for me. It was a nice touch but wasn't quite what I was expecting from this book. And the final thing I have as an issue, if you like, with this book was the pacing. So for most of the book it's quite slow and descriptive, as I've said, and very much immersing you in the world and the slow pace of life that they had there. But by the ending it was very, very rushed. So the actual climax of the story, I won't go into any spoilers, but the main sort of confrontation and events to conclude the quest for the sword were really rushed over. They happened within the space of a few pages, and then the last section after the quest is completed is basically just a summary of the next 5 years or something, which is done in a couple of pages, which I found really dissatisfying. It wasn't at all what I was expecting, and even more so from the fact that I found out this book actually will have a sequel, which I wasn't expecting. The first book was a standalone, albeit with this as a companion, but the story itself was a standalone. this one I thought would be too, and from the way it was written it felt like a standalone right up until the last few pages, and it almost seems like the author had sort of run out of space in this book, so decided to rush things and then create a new story afterwards. And I'm sure that wasn't the case, and I'm sure it was all absolutely planned, but I just found that ending a little bit dissatisfying for me, so didn't enjoy this one as much as I had hoped. But I will stand by beautiful writing, very lovely world that was created, so I shall read more from this author. I just was a little bit disappointed with this particular book. And that is a wrap on my reading for this week. So I ended up reading, I think, 2,392 pages this week, which is an absolute achievement. I'm very, very pleased with that. It puts me very much on target for my 15 books for the month for Whatever You Want-a-thon, and I'm really excited for the things I will get to next week. So I will leave that video here. Please give me a like down below if you enjoyed what you saw. Feel free to chat to me about any of the books I've read this week, anything else you'd like to discuss with me, and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content from me. I will see you very soon next week for another vlog. Goodbye!